life depends on it. The bad news, it's running out.
The lights are going to go out. The impact on society could be immense.
The good news, it's being replaced by Mother Nature, harnessed in new ways. The power of wind.
It is clean, it is green, it is the way of the future.
The rays of the sun.
In a world that's hungry for energy, we need all the energy sources that we have.
The raging tides.
There's enough power out there to create more electricity than the entire United States is making right now.
Fuel crystals from the abyss.
This is going to power the planet.
Your way of life depends on a new kind of hero. A genius with power.
I know that what I'm doing is for my future and my children's future. I know that this is something good and worthwhile doing.
In a lab in College Station, Texas, lies the best-kept secret in the energy world. A fuel detected in outer space, but only recently found on Earth.
What we're looking at is one of the most concentrated forms of energy that exists on planet Earth. It's the bridge to the future. This is gas hydrate. When we run out of conventional oil and gas, this is going to power the planet.
Gas hydrate is frozen methane. It abounds on the moons of Jupiter. Scientists estimate our own planet holds more reserves of gas hydrate than coal, oil, or gas put together. The trick is finding them. Roger Sasson is mounting an expedition to hunt for the mother lode of gas hydrates.
I can't escape from gas hydrate. It's like my fate, my destiny at this point. I've got to go along that road. I can't escape from it.
The best place to look is deep underwater, where the pressure and temperatures are extreme. Such conditions can be found 100 miles off the coast of New Orleans, over half a mile down at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico.
This is a tricky mission. The submersible is good to 3,000 feet. We're diving right at 2,900 and change. There are dangers involved. There is the possibility of entrapment on the bottom. The submarine can get tangled in any piece of gear that's down there that we know about and some that we don't know about. The pressure we're looking at this depth is roughly about 1,300 pounds per square inch. And the temperature, the ocean temperature we've been seeing is about 5 degrees centigrade. So it's pretty chilly. So no, it's not a hospitable place for humans at all. Roger that. All right, Alan, let me know when you get a seal. We have a seal. We're diving. 30 feet.
It takes 40 minutes to descend half a mile to the bottom. The sub has only 3 hours of battery power.
100 feet.
destination is nearly 3 times as deep as the most advanced scuba technology can go.
200 feet.
The whole key for us is finding that sweet spot where we've got gas known to be bubbling out of the seafloor, and all the magic things happen around the gas hydrate.
300 feet, 300.
Yeah, you need to go northeast, 045 degrees. Come to all stop, drop straight down.
The ship's crew guides the sub using sonar maps.
2,800 feet, 2800, 80 feet off the bottom.
Outside the sphere at this point, you would just collapse in on yourself like a bag of hamburger meat.
We're 75 feet off the bottom.
And now we're going to pan downward. There's the bottom. In all probability, no one else has ever seen this with their own eyes before. You know, the word ocean exploration has some meaning.
Okay, we're on the bottom. Our depth is 2,900 feet, 2,900.
Temperature is 5.4 degrees, 5.4 degrees. Visibility is about 20 to 25 feet, 20 to 25 feet.
If you got a range and bearing that we could try, we'll go ahead and get underway.
Yeah, you need to go northeast, 045 degrees, 260 feet.
The sea floor in the Gulf of Mexico is broken by thousands of small fault lines. These fissures make it one of the few places on Earth where gas hydrates seep from the Earth's crust.
Most of the ocean floor is the same stuff. Flat, featureless brown mud. But when we come to the gas vents, it's like going to an oasis. A very special spot that's rare on the ocean floor.
At this point, finding a gas vent is a matter of following the clues.
There's some crabs, lots of crabs, that are hiding in the light.
Crabs and other creatures are drawn to gas vents to feed.
It's getting interesting at this point.
They're getting close.
Oh, here's the gas bubbles. Look. See those bubbles going up?
Okay, we've got an active gas vent.
Deep in the Earth's crust, life from the age of dinosaurs was crushed and cooked. This gas is all that's left. Roger launches a crucial experiment.
We're putting the core tube into the stream of gas bubbles. See it?
If he can collect the gas bubbles here, they might turn into gas hydrate. It's working. Trapped under this extreme pressure and temperature, the gas transforms into an ice-like substance, pure gas hydrate.
That is the world's future source of energy when we run out of gas and oil.
Where there's a vent, outcrops of gas hydrate must be nearby.
Oh, there's some rock. There's some carbonate rocks. See that? See those white things? What we're looking at is a huge chunk of gas hydrate.
This is what they came for. The largest concentration of gas hydrate ever found on Earth.
That might be a couple of tons of gas hydrate there. Really enormous.
Beneath the layer of mud is a freak of chemistry. Hydrates are molecules of gas trapped inside molecules of water. They're compressed 160 times smaller than they would be at the surface. The area around the submarine could power a medium-sized city for a year. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. In the Gulf of Mexico, there could be enough energy to power the entire U.S. for 2,000 years. Some scientists estimate that there is enough gas hydrate on Earth to power the human race for 3,000 years.
What you want is a big gold nugget. You want energy concentrated enormously in the smallest area possible. And that's what we found, the most concentrated mass of gas hydrate energy that anyone has ever seen. It makes it probably the most significant dive in my career.
Biggest piece of gas hydrate I've ever seen in my life.
Finding rich deposits is just the first step on a long road. Scientists must learn how to extract gas hydrates without harming marine life. Then, the real work begins, converting them into clean energy. Like all fossil fuels, hydrates emit greenhouse gases when burned. Those gases must be trapped before hydrates can power your home. So where are the fuels that we can harvest now? One answer is blowing in the wind. Europe has only one major source of oil and gas, the North Sea. It once supplied a tenth of the world's oil. Now, no place on Earth is running out of oil faster. But the North Sea holds another kind of energy. Plentiful, renewable, and clean. The power of wind.
When I'm sailing here on a beautiful ship like this, on a day like this, this is my favorite place to be on the planet. The wind that we feel in the sails now is sufficient to provide electricity to every household in Holland. And one of the things I would really like to see is more of the world being powered by wind power.
Giant wind farms are the fastest growing energy source on Earth. And Huub den Ruygen is the architect of one of the biggest.
This wind farm is very much state-of-the-art. Just the combined effort of a large team of people working for many years to get Holland's first offshore wind farm off the ground.
This monumental feat of engineering begins on dry land. Transporting the turbine blades from the factory requires a military-style operation. Each blade is 140 feet of epoxy and carbon fiber, nearly half the length of a football field.
When I grew up,
wind turbines were small machines that you would find in a farmer's backyard and that would supply enough power for the farm. In the late 90s, people were talking about wind turbines of a megawatt. Well, a megawatt of wind power is basically enough to give electricity to hundreds and hundreds of homes. And I thought that was a great concept. That was a vision that inspired me.
To work in one of the world's stormiest seas, the crews need a stable platform. The ship Sea Energy has 4 legs that descend 70 feet to the seabed. It takes a solid rock mooring to lift hundreds of tons of steel.
You're looking at some of the largest wind turbines that are ever being built on the planet.
Nearly 100 feet of the turbine is sunk into bedrock beneath the sea floor. Another 70 feet is underwater. The remaining 210 feet rises to the sky.
You want wind turbines to be big because big is beautiful in this business. It means it's efficient, it's powerful. It means that the turbine is high up in the sky where the wind is strong and the wind is more constant, so the energy is converted more efficiently. That's why wind turbines always have to be very tall.
Maneuvering these giant steel towers in the middle of the ocean is dangerous. So far, there have been no accidents, but one slip and everyone on board could be at risk. Never mind $4 million of custom engineering sent to the bottom of the sea. Because of the risks, they picked a foreman who knows the ocean.
Just trying to catch the foundation. It has a lot of swell at the moment, so the crane, the whole ship is bending. That's why it's dancing a little bit now.
Once the tower is aligned with the foundation, the crew tightens the bolts, all 140. Next, a 20-story climb to attach the turbine. If all goes well, they can assemble the whole thing in 24 hours.
We have to take care because it's dangerous stuff we are working with here. So everybody has to take care, take a look at what everybody else is doing, because sometimes it's going a little bit quickly, so you have to be aware.
On a calm day, the turbines go together like clockwork. But in the North Sea, the weather is fickle.
The Dutch winters can be pretty severe. We can have some high gales. We've had 14-meter waves during the construction phase already, and these turbines have not been harmed.
The North Sea is famed for its fury. But bad weather is why they're here. As warm winds from the Gulf Stream collide with frigid Arctic air, they produce turbulence, winds blowing up to gale force. As the air hits the turbines, it's the same force as several semi-trucks driving into the blades at full power. Inside the generator, wires spin at high speed through a magnetic field. Result, electricity. Each turbine can power 3,000 homes.
They look pretty simple on the outside. Well, they're about as simple as aeroplanes. Inside the jet engine is very, very high tech. Inside these turbines is equally high tech.
Next step, attaching the engine room to the mast. The crane operator must line up his load within millimeters. It's like balancing a semi-truck on 4 basketballs, while buffeted by wind and swell. The final task is the most difficult and dangerous, attaching the third blade to the engine. The crew must perfectly line up all the bolts. Bend a single bolt, and the whole turbine will have to be taken apart and hauled back to land. Wind farm is complete. Now he can harvest power.
It's a project that I've been working on for the last 6 years, and to finally see it here complete is fantastic, and I'm really very, very proud.
One day, wind could power all of Holland. But what of the calmer parts of the planet? Where do they turn for power? The Big Apple guzzles power. Every day, New York City consumes more energy than many African countries. Now Gristedes, the landmark of homemade food, will become a guinea pig in an electrifying experiment, creating homemade power.
Maybe it's a stage or age of my life and the experiences that I've had that got me to the point where I wanted to do some good with my life. A sense of self-worth, making a contribution. And we feel like what's going on here today is a start at doing something profoundly different that'll have profound goodness for the rest of the planet.
Trey Taylor plans to give New York a new kind of energy. Safe, clean, limitless. His energy source literally surrounds Manhattan.
The water flows around New York City are much like an untapped battery, a source of power, because not only this East River that we're crossing over right now, but it's also the Hudson River. So all of Manhattan, New York, its 5 boroughs are surrounded by moving water, tides and rivers. And that's a tremendous amount of power to be tapped.
Trey has spent 7 years developing the technology to harness that power. Each turbine will generate 35 kilowatts, enough to power 20 households for a year.
This system is an underwater wind turbine using the tidal currents to generate electricity. Now that hasn't been done before. With these first 2 turbines and the 4 to follow, it'll be the first field of underwater wind turbines producing electricity, and if we keep this up, we could make New York City the world's largest renewable energy city.
Trey's turbines are about to debut off Roosevelt Island. It's a partnership between the state of New York and private investors. The first to benefit will be Gristedes, just 10 feet from the river's edge.
They're the first takers of this power. It is going to work here. And then from New York, the rest of the United States, Canada, the UK, and then off we go into the developing countries.
They begin by anchoring a barge that can lower legs into the river and jack itself up. A safe platform to work on. They'll need it. Dutch sailors named this channel Hell's Gate. Every 6 hours, the gravitational pull of the moon forces tides to rage through the East River. For Trey, it's both a blessing and a curse.
These currents are moving at about 4 knots, and that's about the speed a sailboat goes. Now, if people have never been in the water, that's the kind of stuff that'll just knock you over. That's really very fast water. But for us, that's good. That's a lot of energy in that kind of water.
2 divers will bolt the turbines onto their foundations on the riverbed. It's only safe to dive between the tides when the water is briefly calm. Their window, less than an hour.
Diving is dangerous, especially with this dive, because this dive I've got like 45 minutes to get in the water, do my thing, and get out, so I don't have any time. And the current here is really bad because of all the sediment that picks up, and you can't see very far because it's black at the bottom, it's pitch black.
The race against the clock begins. If the divers don't finish in time, they could be swept away, turbines and all.
Okay, fish, good job.
15 feet underwater, the visibility is an arm's length.
On the bottom.
It's so dark below, the divers need a compass to guide the turbines into place.
Yeah, 2 volts is about 245. Roger. 225. 245. 245. Yeah.
Full stop. Full stop.
With more than 4 tons of steel overhead, it's a touchy moment for everyone.
Swing it back and touch. Swing back to the left and touch. Roger. Roger that.
There are risks. If they release it and this thing yaws or the current's picked up enough, it could spin and it could hit the diver, hurt the diver.
Just a touch down, Roger. Full stop.
Nice.
The number 1 turbine is in place.
Beautiful, Van.
Half the battle is won. Now to generate electricity. The tide is going out with the force of 2,400 stampeding horses. But the sensors detect a problem. Turbine number 1 isn't working.
Holy mackerel, is there any way they can get it up?
I'm going to say that this rotor is not strong enough for this current.
The current has smashed all 3 blades.
The first turbine is broken. And the reason that it broke is we were putting it under a number of stresses, which really told us how much power is in this river. It's tremendous forces. We tested it to the extent that it broke.
All hopes now ride on turbine number 2. The tide tide changes and the current picks up speed. It's working. Inside the turbine, a wire spins within a magnetic field. Electrons inside the wire pulse back and forth.
You got power?
We do. We have power.
And without interruption, it feeds electricity to Gristedes supermarket.
Congratulations, everybody.
The store is now powered by the tide.
I understand that the tides create the power. Unless the moon falls off the sky, we're going to have power. That's a very important aspect for this store. It's revolutionary. This is the future.
This calls for a celebratory toast.
Australia has a dirty secret. A continent famed for its beauty is powered by the world's filthiest source of energy. Australia's cities all run on coal. Burning it produces heavy metals, acid rain, and global warming. And the average Australian uses more coal than almost anyone on Earth. Australia needs help to clean up its act, and help lies in its own backyard. "400 miles southeast of Sydney, in the middle of nowhere, burns a spark of invention. In this lonely corner of the outback, creating clean energy is one man's dream.
That dream became a passion. And from a passion, it's become an almost unhealthy obsession.
Roger Davey is obsessed with an overlooked source of power, the sun. Here they see so much of it, they've given the area a name. Roger Davey will build a solar plant on the scale never seen before.
It is spectacular. The top of the tower would be right at about our eyesight as we're situated right now, and about 65 metres across. Or what's that, about 190 feet in diameter.
He calls it the Solar Power Tower. It will be the world's biggest solar power plant and one of the tallest objects ever built. It will rise 400 feet taller than Taipei 101, the world's tallest building. Around the base, a sheet of glass 6 times the size of New York's Central Park.
It's a vast area even from up here, isn't it? And the tower in the centre, 600 metres tall. It really is a sight.
Unlike traditional solar plants, Rogers Tower is powered by the same principle that keeps this balloon aloft: rising hot air. The sun's rays beat down on the glass and heat the air trapped underneath.
Hot air rises, so the air runs towards the centre where the tower is situated. And just like a cold day when you light a fire, the smoke goes whoosh up the chimney, runs through turbines, the turbines spin through the generators, generating electricity, which I think is almost the holy grail of renewable energy.
The energy feeds into a grid station just 5 miles away. The tower will produce enough energy to power 100,000 homes without burning a single lump of coal. The effect on air quality? Like taking 90,000 cars off the road.
It is clean, it is green, it is the way of the future. People have started to worry about the environment. They've started to worry about clean air. They've started to worry about emissions of fossil fuels. And if you can reduce those totally, or at least in part, you're doing something for future generations. You will slow down climate change or slow down global warming.
In Australia, they're tapping the sun. In Britain, they're creating the sun. Here on Earth. These scientists are about to recreate the power of the sun. They'll use one of the most complex machines ever built. Next to NASA's space station, this is the largest science project in the world. It took thousands of scientists 29 years to build. Its aim? To control one of the most powerful forces in the universe.
Fusion is important because it's something that's going to give us a really, really long-term sustainable energy source.
What Hugh and his colleagues achieve here could fulfill what's now just a dream. An unlimited supply of cheap, clean energy.
We are taking the power source of the sun, which is something very ambitious and I think something very worthwhile attempting to do.
In 1945, the world discovered the power of splitting the atom. All nuclear power today splits atoms, called nuclear fission. From the beginning, it's been controversial. But imagine a nuclear reactor that leaves no deadly radioactive waste. A reactor that can't melt down, and that uses an unlimited, clean source of fuel. Fusion. Inside the torus reactor, atoms aren't split apart, they're fused together. A cleaner process that uses no radioactive plutonium or uranium. The fuel for fusion is hydrogen. Hydrogen atoms are heated to 150 million degrees, 10 times hotter than the sun's core. At this extreme temperature, the atoms turn into plasma. The plasma atoms collide and fuse. The reaction releases a neutron of pure energy. It's 1,000,000 times more efficient than today's nuclear power, and 1,000,000,000,000 times more efficient than fossil fuel. Clean energy, but a risky process. More than 160 safety checks take place before the countdown. If one is missed, the forces inside the machine could escape.
Everything we do, we need to be totally sure we've got everything right. We can't afford any mistakes, and it can be a little bit tense at times.
To protect the scientists, the machine is encased inside 6 feet of concrete and steel. Even so, the scientists work from the safety of a separate building.
Trigger the pulse, please.
A camera records the reaction. The glowing light is plasma heated to 150 million degrees. The reaction produces energy just like our sun. In mere seconds, fusion here on Earth.
We did good.
That was excellent. That worked exactly as we wanted it.
It's perfect.
I'm happy. I think the scientific coordinators are very happy. You can see lots of smiles on that, so, which is good.
Nowhere in the world have scientists come closer to creating the ultimate energy source. And the fuel for fusion is virtually unlimited.
One bath full of water would provide enough energy through fusion to supply one person with all their energy needs. So their transport, their heating, their food, their industrial needs for 30 years.
Because fusion uses water, there are no security risks, no meltdowns, no downside at all to living next door to a fusion reactor. But don't look for one soon. Scientists estimate it will take 50 years before we have a working fusion power plant.
This is a very long-term strategy. This isn't something that's suddenly going to produce a result tomorrow and solve all our problems. So we will get there. I don't think we have any choice.
While we wait for fusion, the world will need every other source of clean energy. Because if we don't clean up our act, Mother Nature has a nasty surprise. How long do we have before we run out of fuel? Cheap oil and gas may last decades. Coal could last centuries. But a more pressing deadline looms. The threat? Global warming, fueled by burning coal and oil. The consequences? Storms. Floods. Drought. UN scientists say we have just 10 years to mend our ways.
We can't afford to sit back and just wait and see what happens. If we want to deal with the future challenges of climate change, we have to act today.
The solutions are already here. Tides could power cities. The sun could fuel nations. The wind could light up continents.
This is the kind of strategy that the human race needs to follow and maybe should have been following for a long time in the past, looking not just to the next 10 or 20 years, but looking to the next 50 or 100 years.
I'll certainly be around in 25 years, but probably not in 50. But my children will be around in 50 years' time. And I want them to live in a world that's safe and where they have sufficient energy to meet their needs.
I know that what I'm doing is for my future and my children's future. I know that this is something good and worthwhile doing.
Imagine a world where energy is clean and limitless. Where powering the Earth doesn't cost the Earth. Today, a few visionaries share this dream. Tomorrow, we may all be living in it.
接下来，他们深深影响了我们的地理景观与生活方式。见识这些改变人类世界的伟大人工奇迹，超级大机具接着播出。